Let us count down the 15 forgotten American jobs that paid better than a degree does now. Number 15. The linotype operator. The press run was not a software problem. It was a call to the man who cast type in molten lead, while the metal came out at 550 degrees. At a Chicago daily in 1962, a linotype operator earned more in one overtime shift than a week of teaching. When computers set type in the 1970s, the trade vanished. A skill that takes 10 years to build does not come with severance. Number 14. The switchboard operator. A long-distance call was not an APP. It was a woman's hand reaching for a cord, plugging into a jack and saying, "Number please." An operator at the Wichita Exchange in 1955 routed 200 calls an hour and earned a wage that kept a family housed. Direct distance dialing erased it. The calls kept going through. The women who placed them did not. A voice is replaceable. The wage that went with it is not. Number 13. The high climber. A 200-foot Douglas fir was not a hazard. It was a paycheck. In the timber camps outside Coos Bay, the high climber was the best paid man on any logging crew. He drove his steel spurs into the bark and flipped his rope above him with each step. He cut the branches on the way up with a double-bit axe, one blow per side. Near the top, where the trunk narrowed and began to sway, he made his cut. 40 feet of treetop fell away. The trunk whipped back. Some men rode the whip. Some did not. For a high climber on a 60-day contract, one good season matched what a county judge earned in a year. No diploma. Mechanized harvesters ended it in the 1960s. It just stopped paying. Number 12. The watchmaker. A stopped watch was not a watch to replace. It was work for the man with a loop and tweezers smaller than a toothpick. A watchmaker in Waterbury in 1958 rebuilt mechanical movements to 1/1000th of an inch. A craftsman who mastered it by age 25 cleared what a school principal made. The quartz crisis of the 1970s made watches disposable. A battery cost less than a cleaning. The bench went dust on the dark. That question, what is this worth saving, used to keep a man employed. Number 11. The tool and die maker. A broken stamping die was not a production crisis. It was a job. In a Detroit shop in 1963, a tool and die maker cut the precision forms that pressed every car door in America, working to 1/1000ths of an inch with 7 years of apprenticeship behind him. His hourly rate beat the man who sold the finished cars. Numerical control machines arrived. The craft still exists. What it once paid does not. Number 10. The hard hat diver. Working the Gulf floor was not a scuba trip. It was a man in a 200-pound canvas dress and a bronze helmet, with air pumped from a compressor on the surface, pressure building with every foot he descended. Out of Morgan City in the late 1950s, hard hat divers bolted flanges on the first offshore oil platforms in near-zero visibility. The air hose was the only thing between him and a suit squeeze that could kill faster than he could signal the surface. A diver who logged 200 hours underwater in a season made more than most engineers who designed the platforms he maintained. The bronze helmets went to display cases in the late 1960s. Some skills belong to the men willing to walk the bottom. Number 9. The cable tool driller. A dry hole was not a failure of geology. It was a question of a feel. A cable tool driller outside Tulsa in 1948 punched a well by dropping a steel bit on a cable, reading the rope to know the formation below. A driller who could bring in a producer earned a wage that rivaled a physician's. Rotary rigs replaced cable tools through the 1950s. Speed was worth more than feel. You cannot teach a machine to feel. Number 8. The breakbulk longshoreman. An unloaded ship was not a logistics problem. It was a body problem. A longshoreman on the San Francisco docks in 1955 hooked and slung cargo piece by piece, gang by gang, on a union wage that matched the effort. His weekly check beat what most college men in nearby offices took home. The shipping container arrived in the early 1960s. One crane unloaded what 30 men moved in a day. It only saved time. Number 7. The Mohawk Ironworker. Walking the high steel was not a metaphor. In 1955, the men who did it best came from the Kanawaki Reserve near Montreal. By the late 1950s, 800 Mohawk men lived in a Brooklyn neighborhood called Little Kanawaki. They had built the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building. Their wages cleared what most college-educated Americans earned. They caught red-hot rivets thrown from 30 feet below. The 1907 Quebec Bridge collapse killed 33 of them in one afternoon. The women of Kanawaki set one rule after that: never so many on a single structure again. Hot rivets gave way to bolts and welds. The riveting gang was finished. The Mohawk Ironworker stayed and still climbs. The pay that once matched the risk did not. Number 6. The Steam Locomotive Engineer. A late train was not a scheduling problem. It was a failure of the man in the cab. A steam engineer out of Altoona in 1949 managed steam pressure, water, throttle, and brake at once. He was the highest paid man on the railroad. The Pennsylvania Railroad retired its last steam engine in 1957. Dieselization ended it. The feel for a boiler does not transfer to a diesel cab. It ends with the man who had it. Number 5. The Fixed Commission Stockbroker. A stock trade was not a click. It was a call to a man in a Boston office who charged a commission fixed by law. A broker on State Street in 1965 needed a securities license and a handshake, not a degree. A strong year put him in the range of a surgeon. May 1st, 1975. Ended fixed commissions. Discount brokerages followed. A trade that once cost $50 now costs nothing. The market opened, his paycheck closed. Number 4. The Hand-Loading Coal Miner. An empty coal car was not a supervisor's problem. It was a miner's opportunity. A hand loader in the West Virginia coal fields in 1952 cut the face, blasted it, and shoveled every ton himself, paid by the ton. 8 tons and a good seam bought a house. Continuous mining machines arrived in the 1950s and loaded faster than any man with a shovel. A machine does not need a union card. It turned out that was the point. Number 3. The Granite Stone Cutter. A cemetery monument was not a manufactured product. It was a commission. In Barre, Vermont, a skilled stonecutter in 1955 carved portraits into gray stone, working mallet, chisel, and pneumatic air gun. His wage matched the best tradesmen in New England. The dust killed slowly. Sandblasting and machine carving replaced the hand in the 1970s. The stones still go up. The hands do not. Precision is replaceable. The men who built it into their bones were not. Number 2. The Pole Climbing Lineman. A deadline was not a help desk ticket. It was a man in boot hooks and a leather belt, climbing a wooden pole in rain or ice, splicing wire by feel. A Tennessee Valley lineman in 1953, he worked live conductors on a wage that reflected the daily chance he would not come back. Bucket trucks arrived in the 1960s. That man is gone. Risk, it turned out, was most of the wage. Number 1. The Television Repairman. The simplest skill on this list, the humblest, the one most completely erased from the American home, and the one that more than any other illustrated a country that still believed a broken thing was worth a man's afternoon. He came to the house. He carried a metal case of spare tubes, a voltmeter, and a tube tester, and worked until the picture came back. A television in 1958 cost a month's wages. For a repairman in small-town Indiana, a week of house calls paid what a bank manager made. A bench tech in a Brooklyn repair shop matched or beat it. A circuit riding tech covering 4 counties in the Carolina foothills put a family in the middle class with no diploma. A service call cost $4. The set ran for another 7 years. Flat screens arrived, sealed and cheap, costing less to replace than the old service call. The country stopped calling and started carrying the broken set to the curb. That was not just a decision about television. It was a choice about whether a skill was worth paying for. These 15 jobs were not relics. They were a deal the country once made with its people. Bring a skill, and the wage will be there. An axe in a living fur, a cord in a switchboard, a bronze helmet on the floor of the Gulf, a rivet caught 800 feet above Manhattan, a soldering iron beside a darkened television. The skill was the credential. No loan required. Today that averages more than $30,000 in student debt. Often those jobs pay less than the man with the tube caddy made in 1962. They did not call it a career, they called it a trade. A trade was a promise the work would always be there. We traded that promise for a piece of paper. We are still paying it off.